Hey everybody, this is Breakfast with Bob. I'm your host, Bob Babbitt, and we are here at beautiful Clash Endurance, Miami. My next guest, seriously, one of our favorite people to watch race because he always goes off the front, Mr. Magnus Ditlev. And Magnus, first of all, you made up for lost time. How many times did you race this year in 2021?
I think it was 11 or 12 international races, and then also a few on home soil, like just local races in Denmark. So quite a lot.
You missed racing and not being able to do much in 2020.
Yeah, with the COVID stuff, we didn't race much, and in the season before that. So, and also because I'm so young, I think every time I race, I learn a lot that you can practice and do a lot of things in training, but when you get out there in the real world, things are very much different than just doing a set on the turbo trainer or something like that.
Right. What did you learn from this race last year? This race had Jan Frodeno and Lionel Sanders, and you're off the front, and it was not just like Daytona where you rode in circles. This was a road course in pretty big wind.
Yeah, so I was actually a little nervous going into the race because I knew that a course like Daytona would suit me very well because that's just power compared to your aerodynamics, and in that I'm really good. But I wasn't sure on my technical abilities going into the race. But it proved to be
pretty good.
One of the races where I think I did the most damage on the bike.
Yes, you did.
So and then just going toe to toe for a short period of time with Frodeno on entering T2, that was pretty epic.
Yes, and you led Jan Frodeno and Lionel. You ended up You ended up getting sixth, but
yeah, I ran really bad. I think it's one of the worst run parts I've ever had. But
was it a nutrition issue?
Yeah, it was very much a nutritional issue. I had really stitches all over the place, and I felt like I was running like this all the time. So. Yeah, it was after that actually we did a period where we focused a lot on nutrition and carbohydrate intakes, and that really, I think you can see on the results later in the season paid. I think it's pretty much due to nutritional stuff, most of it.
But so you won challenge Budva, I think it's pronounced, and third in St. George at 7.3. That was a great race.
Yeah, that was. It's probably one of the favorite races, for me personally.
Yes.
I just came from did not finish in 70.3 Florida 2 weeks before, so I was pretty low in self-belief in myself. And then going into a race like that it was basically a world championship field.
No question.
And I rode off the front on the bike with Rudy, and then we planned to run really conservatively until 13 or 14 kilometers on the run, which ended up being the exact point where Sanders, Daniel, and Sam Long caught me.
Yes.
And then we had agreed with my coach that at 13 or 14 kilometers you are allowed to push more.
Yes.
And then they went by me, and I just tried to follow for as long as I could. But it was a very a few kilometers where we ran side by side.
Yes, that was so exciting.
The most epic moment in my life, I think.
Isn't that pretty fun? And especially you think about it, you're so young at this. And so you got into this from watching Copenhagen? Yeah,
so I was always very active from a young age, doing football and badminton, but never pure running, cycling or swimming. And then in the stages between primary or high school
and college.
In Denmark it's very normal that you go abroad, a new place to get some new perspective on things when you are so young. So all of my mates, they did that, and suddenly I had no football or badminton team, so I didn't know what I had a ton of energy, but I couldn't use it on the soccer field or badminton field. So I got placed in a class with 2 elite runners.
Yes.
So I started running with them, and also started biking a little bit with my father. And so the Ironman Copenhagen route goes just by my house.
It goes by your house?
Yeah, exactly. So we spectated it and watched it for some years, and I thought it looked really cool. And suddenly I had just signed up for
for
half distance. Yeah.
So it's not like you said, I'm going to do a sprint and then I'll do an
No.
Olympic. And no, it's going
I don't think I knew that there was anything shorter than half or full distance at that time. But yeah.
That is so cool. And how'd you do in that first race?
It was okay until the run. I think I overpaced it quite a lot. But I got through, and 2 weeks later I did a new one that was even like a little bit better, and so then things took on from there.
Yeah, they definitely took on from there, because you in 2018 you won Ironman 70.3 Europeans 1824, and then you go pro in 2019. What did you feel was the difference when you went from age group to pro? Did you notice a huge difference in terms of just the fact that you maybe can't ride away from people?
No, it was like a pretty special transition for me from age group to pro, because first of all I was studying at that time, so I didn't have like I tried to balance studying full time and training full time, but then also when I just signed up for my first pro event, I had a very serious crash.
That's right.
Like it sidelined me for
pretty much all of 18.
Yeah,
19.
a complete year. And then when I had just signed up for what should have been my pro event, then after that, I crashed again. So there was actually a period of more than, I think maybe 1.5 years where I wasn't racing, but in between that time I was still able to, like, for instance, ride my bike. So I had built like a huge engine from training, so we knew that my level from training was quite good, and then we just like, it was pretty tough for me just to believe in that I could see the numbers from training, but getting out there in the real world and proving them is something very different. And when you haven't done anything in competitions, then it's very hard to believe that you can actually be competitive in the pro field.
Well, and when I look at the PTO Pro Championship, I think you're the fastest bike split of the day. Obviously, you had some issues on the run. But so what have you been doing to work on the run? Because your running is getting better and better.
Yeah, so in the period where I was crashing all of the time, I wasn't able to run a lot.
Right.
So we have been like building it up so slowly and just making sure that I will not get injured. So I think at first I was really with my coach like, come on, we have to push the run training more. But he was just like looking in the long term. So, and I think that's really what pays off now, because I feel like right now I'm running 115 kilometers a week. So that's pretty big volume, but I feel like it's like my level is just constantly improving a little bit, and I'm still quite young, so I think it will just be hopefully just a matter of time before my run level gets to the other part.
Well, and you're how old now?
24.
24.
Yeah, and then it's, if you look at like, it's more the training age that's very young, since I wasn't doing triathlon from a young age.
Really?
So I think I've only been training like really seriously for maybe 3 years or something. So
when you look at it now, if you had gotten into the sport younger, you probably would have gone more ITU and done some of that short distance. But at the same time, you've saved your legs because you weren't doing.
Yeah, I'm not telling myself that it's actually a bad thing that I didn't start very early, actually, because I think I have for me it's a very positive process. Everything I feel like I'm improving the whole time, and then every experience just takes to the other. Like, so if you get into the sport very young, you can maybe reach like a plateau that you have to like stay on the same level for a very long time, and then once you are through that, then you start improving again. But for me right now, it's just a very positive development all the time. So I think it's not a bad thing that I maybe on the swim I would have liked to maybe have been swimming from a younger age, but yeah.
What's always fascinating to me is we see people at races who basically have a pattern. They're behind out of the swim, they ride up to 15th, and they run their way into 6th or 7th, right? And it's like, oh my God, next race they're gonna do it. But to win, you sort of have to go off the front. You have to know what that feels like. You have to know what it's gonna be like with all the cameras and all the attention on you. You're somebody who has never shied away from that. When you came to Daytona and went for it and had the fastest bike split of the day, and then came here and did the same thing. Is there something about you that you like the big lights and the big stage?
I don't actually. For me, it's a really difficult, or like mentally, it's a whole different game. Chasing when I'm chasing the front, and then when I enter the front, it's like at first I felt paralyzed or something like that. It's a really strange feeling actually leading a race, and it's something you have to learn, because you cannot just, when I'm leading, I'm just constantly counting down, like taking some splits or something like that. When you're leading, you know that everyone is looking at you and there's no place to hide or anything. So it's really something I'm trying to learn still, that how to like lead a race. And yeah.
What's funny is we had a guy who won the Ironman back in 2005 named Faris El Sultan, and I asked him about leading, and he said, I just like chasing the helicopter. I'm like, the helicopter is following you, Faris, but his thought was, I'm just chasing the helicopter.
I have to find some motivation other than just like seeing faces out in the horizon that you are trying to.
It's got to be harder to be, when you're behind a little bit, you know where you're at.
Yeah, it's like, it is very different for me, at least. I cannot say how it is for others, but it was quite a weird feeling actually being in the position you have been dreaming about for so long.
Yes.
And then you don't know really what to do. So it was,
You just keep pushing once.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stick to my plan, and I don't feel like I'm just riding off the front to do it. I feel like it's
no, you're riding to win.
Trying to go for the win.
Yes.
So that's just.
How have things changed for you? Because really, you've sort of burst on the scene just in the last couple of years. How have things changed for you, sponsorship-wise? Just more awareness in Denmark and around the world.
Yeah, it's been a very fast like a transition towards being a top-level pro. So. It has been quite what do you say it? It's very contrast to when I was just minding my own business. Now there is a lot of sponsor obligations and social media that you have to. And for me, I never got into the sport because of all that. So I'm trying to focus much on my training and becoming the best possible athlete. And then I'm just trying to like surround myself with people that can help me with some of the things I'm not very confident at or good at.
So what will you do this? Obviously, you're racing here, and you'll be hopefully off the front. For the rest of this season, is it St. George full Ironman? Is it Kona at the end of the year?
I haven't done a full distance yet, but actually I can say it here, but we are planning to do Ironman Texas as my first full distance.
That is a great one to start out with.
Yeah. So I think it will be. My coach is going to do the same race, so we will travel there together. And
now, who's your coach?
It's a Danish pro triathlete called Jens Petersen Bach, he's been on Kona twice as a pro also. So yeah.
What do you look at as the race that told you that you could be one of the best in this sport?
That's probably the PTO championships. I think that was like a very big surprise to myself, because I was like 2.5 minutes out of the out of the water, and then it was a quite hard mental thing to swallow at the time I got that you are 2.5 minutes after, but then I just committed to sticking to my own plan, and so I caught them all, and that was like the moment where I realized, okay, I'm actually decent at what I'm doing.
Yes. And you're ranked 14th in the world right now?
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's good, but I'm aiming for much higher after this.
Single digits would be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very cool. So if you do what we think you're going to do at Texas, that means would that qualify you for Kona?
Yeah, Kona in October, yeah. So, and then I will have a problem because Kona is only 3 weeks before 70.3 Worlds, which should be my A goal this season. So that's,
You have to make that decision.
And then there is also all the PTO races that I'm targeting, the PTO tour. So it will be that's also with this season we've been really careful not to push it too hard in the training leading, like in the start of the season, because we know from last year and when I was racing in Daytona, I was so tired, like mentally. So this year we are maybe holding back a little bit more because we know it will be a very long season.
So when you see people like Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden coming into the sport, or not coming into the sport, but moving up from Olympic distance to 70.3 in full and doing what they've done, does that affect the way you race and train, or you just look at it and go, hey, the deeper the field, the better it is?
No, I'm actually getting quite motivated by it. So I raced Christian in Daytona last year, and I I had a like plus 2 minute gap on him on the bike, and I had really hoped that would be enough to take the win. But as I said, I think it was because it was a really long season, so I wasn't feeling my best. So it's not like I feel that they are unbeatable. I mean, I think that I could have done even better in Daytona if the circumstances maybe had played out a little bit more to my But of course, it's really inspiring to see what they are doing.
I love it. I think the sport is in a great place right now, and having the PTO invest in the sport, and also obviously what we're doing with Clash Daytona and Clash Miami.
Yeah, no,
all different types of racing.
Yeah, and I think we are like a young generation coming up that's really motivated and pushing each other to whole new levels. So it's really exciting to be a part of that.
Well, it's interesting because you're getting a lot of guys. It used to be that Gustav and a Christian, they went to and they did. They ITU and they don't get into this until they're in their 30s. Now we're getting guys like you, Sam Long, and others who are in their 20s going longer distance. Yeah. Which is awesome.
So I think it will change the game completely when we are specializing so young. So I'm really looking forward to see in a few years what we all can achieve.
Magnus, always such a pleasure to get to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I knew you needed a little sweat. So
it was really hot in here.
We bring the lights in here so to get you ready for Friday.
Yeah, it's also just outside. It's really hot.
So hot. I know.
I feel it's much more humid and hotter
last year.
Than
way
last
hotter.
year. I've been doing some running intervals out there, and if you don't cool down, then your heart rate will just go through the roof. So it will be quite. I think it will be important on the race day also, because we are racing in the middle of the day.
Yes.
So just in the heat with the 30 degrees Celsius
and the wind.
Yeah.
Which dehydrates you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love it. Magnus, thank you so much for taking time.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
All right. Magnus Ditlev has been our guest, everybody. Hold on. We will be right back.